Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Gonzalo Riza. I've talked to some of you during these last months of transition between Memsource and the previous CAD tool we were using at Yellow Hub. I'm head of production and innovation here at Yellow Hub, and I've been working here since September. So I'm pretty new here. This has been quite a challenge to, my task here was to introduce new systems that could increase the productivity of the translation processes. And one of the things we've done is to change the CAD tool. So I have to say it's all my fault. If you're not happy with Memsource, I'm the one to be blamed, but I'm hope that you would like it. Unfortunately, Piero Bertuzzi, who I guess you've been talking to in the last few weeks quite a lot, he was not able to make it today. He's feeling sick, and therefore he's not going to be here. He was telling me to apologize in his name because he really wanted to attend this webinar. Anyhow, there will be some more webinars. And please bear with us. We'll keep on doing these webinars on probably on a monthly basis, and Peter would attend the other webinars, and he would have a few words for all of you. He wanted to say that he wanted to express his gratitude that you are taking today a little time to learn a bit more about Memsource and about Yellow Hub as well. So in his name, I have to say thank you to all of you for joining us. Okay, so let's get things started. I see that there's still people joining the webinar, so let's do it. I hope you're gonna have fun. This is scheduled for 1 hour, okay? I know that in the email, I think it was saying 1 hour and 40 minutes. Just in case there are questions and we go a bit over time. I tend to talk a lot. I'll try to control myself and stick to the script, but I don't promise this will happen. Just as I said, feel free to ask as many questions as you want. As you know, there have been several new developments here at Yellow Hub in the last few months, I would say. One of them, the one that probably has a deeper impact in your daily tasks, it's Memsource. It's the change of the CAD tool. But there has been other changes. We've been doing some research on machine translation. We've been testing also different engines and doing some tests. And we are also in the process of changing things, changing all our processes into a translation management system that's called XTRF. We'll go in a little bit more detail about those things later on, but today we're going to concentrate on Memsource. XTRF, it's as I said, a translation management system. It's not really something that would have a very strong impact on your daily work with Yellow Hub. The only thing that I want to advance now is that soon, probably by the end of January, beginning of February, the GTV would be discontinued, and we would start using XTRF in change. Probably you already know, if you're working with other LSPs or you're working with other translation agencies, you already kind of know a bit about it. Anyway, we'll conduct a webinar on it whenever it's ready. Therefore, I won't go there in great depth. And regarding machine translation, this is a very interesting topic. I know a lot of you translators are a bit concerned. Well, I have to say, in the introduction I made of myself, I'm very bad at introducing myself. I'm also a translator. I've been working in the translation industry for over 15 years now. So I've gone through every CAD tool out in the market and every new disruption, and the world was about to end several times with translation memories, with machine translation, with everything. And I know how hard it is to keep up with technology when you have to focus on translating different stuff for your customers and delivering on time and with quality. So these webinars are just meant to concentrate all these new developments in short webinars, so that you can keep track of what's going on, and you can not be afraid of new developments, okay? So machine translation is the thing right now. I'm sure that most of you have experience or has different experiences with machine translation and post editing. Again, I don't want to get into machine translation now. We are preparing another webinar on this, but I just want to say, I just want to explain a little bit what's the approach of Yellow Hub regarding the machine translation. One thing that we want you to be with us on is that we believe that the industry and the market is completely changing in the last few, I would say even few months. I mean, 2 years ago, it would be unthinkable of a customer asking actively for machine translation. In the last few months, you can see machine translation pretty much everywhere. I mean, it's in the news, it's in the newspaper, it's everywhere, and therefore it's also on the client's side. And of course, clients are not always very well informed of what machine translation is. They pretty much think that it's, you know, you put this text, you click a button, and there you go, you have a perfect translation, which obviously it's not. This has had an impact in turnaround times when we're talking about negotiating with customers, and you know, sometimes they have these crazy needs of very big volumes of texts translated in 2 days time, something like that. And that's where we see potential in machine translation. We look at machine translation as a way of shortening deadlines rather than of making it cheaper. So we've been testing with our in-house team of translators what are the results of machine translation and how can it be used. And that's the thing is that what we want to make sure is that you don't think that we are trying to cut costs, but rather we are trying to send more work because you would be able to process more work eventually. Of course, machine translation has a very different output depending on the industry we're talking about. It's not the same a technical text than a marketing text, and it's not the same English into Italian or English into Spanish language combination than Russian into Chinese. So machine translation, of course, we are going to start using it more and more, not into every language combination and not in any field of expertise. But you have to know that the market is going that way, and that we as a translation company, we need to adjust and follow the market as well. And probably you as translators would have to start thinking about post-editing as something that you would probably have to start getting used to. And of course, we are here to help. If you need anything, or if you want to learn more about post-editing, or you want some more information, please let me know, and I would very happily send you some information, third-party information. This is not about selling our services or anything. It's just about you getting to know what's going on and how can you be on top of the market, because post-editing is a thing and it's going to be here for a very long time. So this is all about learning new tricks. There we go. Talking about CAD tools, there are two main. I'm going to keep this introduction very short. Okay. Again, this is just a few insights of different topics. If you want to get deeper on any of them, just let me know, and I'll try to send you as many information as possible, and we'll take it from there. But when we were looking at different CAD tools, we were having like two main types of CAD tools: the server-based CAD tools and the cloud-based CAD tools. Server-based CAD tools, probably some of you know already. You have like MemoQ is offering a server-based CAD tool. Group Share from SDL Trados, it's also a server-based CAD tool. And there is another set of tools that are cloud-based. Again, I think MemoQ has a cloud-based system as well, and SmartCAD, Memsource, XDM, they are all cloud-based. The main difference between server and cloud-based, it's where you're storing the actual CAD tool. If you're installing it in the server, it's a server-based. If it's in the cloud, it's a cloud-based. One of the main advantages of cloud-based CAD tools have to do with updates and things like that. You know, we were testing Group Share for quite a while, and the problem with Group Share was that not only we had to have the same version, but also all of our providers, in this case, you guys, translators, you should also work under the same version of SDL. So that was posing a problem, because I understand that some of you, this is your main job, and you are you can spend money on buying one CAD tool per year and to keep track and keep updated with it. But for some other people, it's not so easy, and then it's a problem. I believe that a lot of these CAD tool developers are using LSPs in their advantage, so that they make their providers buy new CAD tools. So this is something we didn't want. We understand that you have to do a big investment in CAD tools, in different CAD tools, and in trainings and all these things, and we didn't want to put more stress on your finances and also on learning new CAD tools every day. So we wanted a cloud-based, because cloud-based CAD tools are updated automatically. Memsource is free, so you don't have to pay for the license or anything. If they release a new version, it's automatically updated for you. You don't really have to install the tool anywhere. It's an online tool. Also, one of the reasons that got us to Memsource is that it's very machine translation friendly. There are many different options to use machine translation within Memsource, and we're exploring some of them. There are new developments within Memsource regarding machine translation, new engines that are going to be supported by Memsource, Amazon and different Microsoft and different engines that we'll have to test so far. So just so that you know, we are working with DeepL, which is giving quite good results so far. But it's, of course, it's very good to have more engines to try with, and it's also good for you. And it's also multi-user. This it's very important with these very big jobs we were talking before. You can have more than one translator working simultaneously on the same file, and they are using the same resources, the same translation memories, the same term base, the same everything. So if a colleague of yours is translating the same file you are translating, whatever he or she is doing, you would benefit from that. You can propagate their matches throughout the text and so on. So it makes handling big files much easier. And one thing that's kind of worrying a lot of you, it's this thing I'm calling here like owned resources. And owned resources, what I mean by that is that when we are sending you a job, we are sending you the job together with the translation memory. Well, we are not actually sending you anything. It's just that we are opening space in the cloud so that you can connect to our own resources. That prevents, we have had very bad experiences when we were working with Trados and sending a translation memory and then receiving very bad translation memory, because a translator translated into the wrong language. That has happened, even if you don't believe it, or translated something like completely wrong, and then it's very hard to spot that once that gets into a translation memory, and it can contaminate a translation memory, the whole translation memory, and it's hard. I mean, it's very easy when there's a wrong language, it's very easy to spot, but when there are many mistakes, small mistakes, it's very hard to spot them and to get rid of those. And once you get something into a translation memory, I can tell you it's very complicated to fix it. So now with this system, we are not allowing you to get your own resources or to play around with your resources. It's very easy. It's much easier to keep track of who does what into a translation memory or into a term base or everything. So we're gaining a lot of accountability. Also, in terms of privacy, like data privacy, this is very important, because when we send a translation memory, you're sending a lot of information from one client that maybe is not relevant for the translation anymore. And by allowing you to log into our resources, we are only making available those resources that are really relevant for the translation task you are in charge of, translation or post-editing task. So that's why we went for Memsource as our primary CAT tool. Of course, I didn't write them because written things are always there. So I would say it in words. There are also some disadvantages of using a cloud-based system. Basically, sometimes it can have an impact. The speed can be an issue. Okay, it very much depends on your internet speed. Most of our translator pool is based in Europe, and so eventually there shouldn't be problems with internet speed. But some of you who lived in quite isolated areas or have problems with internet, this can be quite challenging, or it can be challenging at times. And also when working with very big files. When we get into Memsource, I'll try to show you how to avoid as much as possible getting a low speed when working in Memsource, okay? One thing I have to say, and I don't want to forget, is that we've noticed that it doesn't really work very well with Internet Explorer. I know some of you are using Internet Explorer as their browser. I would encourage you to use any other internet browser, such as Chrome or Firefox or Opera, or Safari. For those of you working on a Mac computer, it's also okay. But Internet Explorer, I don't know why it really slows down the process. One of the good things is that for those of you who are working on a Mac, you can work with Memsource on a Mac with no problem, because as I said, it's online. There's even a mobile app in case you want to translate while you travel, or you're in the metro, or you're on holiday. You can use your mobile app to translate. But I mean, that it depends on how keen you are on translating or not. So having said that, and linking it to what we were talking before about machine translation, this is pretty much what I said. It is very helpful, and it is something that's here to stay, especially in all the European language combinations. As much as some of you want, you cannot hide from machine translation. So I would suggest you to start doing some research, to start, Googling it and see how it works and giving it a try with an open mind. It's really impressive. I always tell this story, which is just a story. I have a friend of mine living in Sweden, and the other day I was checking Facebook, and you know, she was posting something like about her life, how's everything there and whatever, how cold it is, and I was reading it, and okay, and you know, the last sentence, it was quite a long post. And the last sentence was a bit like, it didn't sound very correct, and I was a bit surprised because this girl, she's a translator herself, so she's very picky with the way she uses language and all that. And then I realized that it was machine translated. So, but it was in the last sentence that I realized it was machine translated. So really, get used to machine translation, because you're going to be using it probably not only with the Yellow Hub, but also if you have any other customers and if you have any other jobs around, probably you're going to be asked more and more about machine translation. And what we want is to go hands in hands with you in this using machine translation. We don't want to start, you know, a fight between about costs or about time or about, we want to research this together and see how can we all benefit from it. Okay, as I said, it's not usable for every field of expertise, but it would definitely be something you have to get used to as soon as possible. And lastly, we would go and we are going to start with a demo on Memsource. Okay, we can talk a bit about the different things we are going to cover. Again, if you lack something, or if you find that you want to talk a bit about something, just place your question and I'll try to get some answers. We'll cover how to accept a job in Memsource, and how to start working with the online editor. We would also, I'll show you how to open several files in one go, like joining all files together in one go, or not joining them, when to do that and when not to do it. What's a translation memory? I hope by this time you know, but if you don't, we'll cover that as well. What's a term base? What's machine translation? The search and replace functions, concordance, filters, different filters you can use, how to add a term to a term base, how to work with terminology in general, how to join segments, what's going on with tags and tagging and how to get rid of them or how to work with them in the best way possible, how to run the QA, how to deliver the file once you're ready, or files, and we would at the same time be giving some productivity tips so that you can work better and faster. Okay. Again, this is, I'm up for questions, or otherwise I'll start with showing around Memsource. Okay, there are no questions yet, so there we go. I've set up a user. For me, I'm gonna open a project. This is probably, I don't know if you've seen the email, probably this email is familiar to most of you. This is an automated email from Memsource saying, okay, we have a job for you. What are the number of words the job has? This is 2 files, and how to get started. Okay, and who's the project manager? In this case, it's Gonzalo Riza, which is me. I was creating this project, so I was assigning it to me. Okay, so I'll sign into Memsource. Okay, and this is what you see. Things that, well, I'm gonna close these windows here. Some things you should take into account just when you get one of these emails. It's okay, here you have the files. Well, it's under new jobs, sorry. there is only one new job, which is called webinar 9th of January, and who's the owner, who's the project manager of that project. If at some point you have any question regarding this project or any, I don't know, hardship, or you need some clarification of any kind, you can always contact that person who's going to be the project manager assigned to that project. So I can log in. I've disabled machine translation because I wanted to show you how to play around with different features, and machine translation is not something you can really play around with very much. And you have pretty much all the information, the same information you got in the email, you have it here. So the translation is from English into Spanish. By the way, I'm Spanish. I hope you've already told by my accent, but yeah, well, this is from English into Spanish, when it was created, and the different jobs implied here. So there are 2 files. Off we go. If we want to accept a job, well, first thing we could do is like, okay, as a translator, first thing I want to do is I want to see if I can take this task, or if I can actually work on this, if it's very difficult, if it's very technical, if it's financial and I'm not a real financial translator, or if it's legal and I'm not good at that, whatever. You can always open the file. You have this warning saying you've not accepted the job yet, so you can open it as in read-only or accept the job. I would suggest to open it in read-only mode, so that first we take a look before accepting it. And okay, it seems pretty straightforward. Oh, lots of tags here. That's great. Cool. I think I can do this. It's not too bad. Let's see the other file. Again, the same warning. I'll open it, and okay, this looks okay. Really, really easy. Great. I can take it. So please select both files. I've had some issues with some translators only accepting, you know, one file or whatever. Best thing to do, if you click here, you select all of them, and then you have to change the status and accept it by provider. I'm not going to accept it because I want to see, look at this. Here it says emailed. Once I accept the job, it automatically changes into accepted. Okay. Okay. There we go. This, I've accepted the job, so I can start working. I can take a little look at these things. I have one translation memory, which is test for webinar, and I have one term-based, which is term-based for webinar. No reference files. In some cases, you may have some instructions by the customer or by the project manager. In other cases, if you're working on a, let's say, on an InDesign file or something like that, we may add the PDF file there for your reference or something like that. Whatever that can help you with the translation would be posted there. References are just that, references. You don't need to translate them. You don't need to do anything with them other than reading them and get some information out of them. So let's click on the first file. And let's start translating. One of the things Memsource is very good at is creating these previews. It's good because sometimes it gives you a little context of what you're translating. Typical examples here are like when you are translating an index or a table of contents and you have 2.1, whatever, furniture. Then you probably know that this 2.1 has to remain 2.1 in Spanish. That you shouldn't change it into 2.1 because it's a 2.1 thing, this kind of thing. So it gives you a little bit of context of what this is. And this is a completely blank file. We haven't worked on it. There are no translations. There's nothing there. okay? One thing you have to look at, it's here. You have the resources that are used in this project. Normally, you would have the green ones are the ones that are used. So this is the translation memory, this is the term base, and this is the machine translation, which is not used. By the way, this is my name as a translator, just in case you were wondering. If for any reason you start working on a file and you see, oh, this is strange, there's nothing translated, there's nothing pre-translated, and you look at this and there is no translation memory, for example, then there is a problem. Probably the project manager forgot to attach a translation memory, or something has happened, or whatever. If you see something strange, please always ask your project manager, because we all make mistakes and sometimes we forget things, and I forget things like pretty much once or twice a day. So translation memory can be missed, or a term base can be wrongly placed, or something like that. So if you see that here you don't have a translation memory or term base, or you see that something is wrong with the text, let us know, okay? So let's start translating. One of the things, like the first thing I want to do, I'm gonna translate only one thing, which is the easy part. This number 20. Okay, there are two ways of doing this. One is just writing 20 with the keyboard, that's it. But there is also the option of copying the source into the target, which I'm sure you've done several times. It's just the same as in SEL Trados, Control Insert, and there you go. Okay, you can copy source in target in you can select several segments and you will get the same result, Control Insert. The same works for confirming the segment. All these things I'm telling you are here in tools and edit. I mean, all the different things you can do with the text are here. Copy source to target, delete target text, how to insert tags, insert all tags, all those things. However, I use the keyboard more and the shortcuts more than I use the mouse when I'm translating. But so I would use a keyboard, but I just want you to know that everything is there if you want to do a little bit of playing around with the mouse. These blue arrows indicate a repetition. That means that whenever I confirm this number 20, the number 20 will be propagated throughout the translation. So here it is, okay? Excuse me. So let's confirm the segment. Again, Control Enter, you confirm a segment, and it gets automatically confirmed in the later in the other instances. Okay. Now that you've confirmed the segment, we can do several things. You could log the segment, which is something Control L if you are completely sure that, but this is not something I would recommend you to do. Just once you confirm the segment, that's okay. When you confirm, it automatically moves you to the next unconfirmed segment, okay? So you can just move on. Here, moving here, you see this is 101%, 100%, and 100. This is the fuzzy match rates of every segment. Most of you know what a 100% match is, what a 99% match is, and all that. Okay, the 101% match, it's what other tools call context match. That means that the previous segment and the following segments are also the same. So, but it's a context match for most of you. So we've translated this little thing, and we would translate now this. And well, let's move here first. This is your first segment. The translation would be, este es tu primer segmento in Spanish. I'm sorry, I'm trying my best with Italian, but still I can't translate. And I confirm. Once I confirm the segment is automatically stored in the translation memory. Okay, so we could use our translation in the next future, or in the next file if there will be another file that has this segment. Okay, then this would be este es tu segundo segmento. I'm not gonna write the final point at the end, and I'll explain you later why. And then here we are. We have two words highlighted in yellow, and we have this TB thing here. TB, as you may have guessed, is term-based. Okay, so let's translate this, and I would say ayer. I'm sorry, I don't have Spanish keyboard, so I cannot write all the orthographic signs in Spanish. Una bonita y brillante bici. You see, when I start typing bici or bicicleta, which is Spanish word for bicycle, I get it highlighted, because this means that bicycle, it's part of the term base. So the customer has specifically said that they want one word for that term. Okay, so bicycle is part of the term base, and if we go here, we see that there's not only one but two terms for the same term, bici or bicicleta. If we click on bici, here we say usage, marketing, informal. Bicicleta, it says general and technology texts. Both of them are approved. So we should, I mean, this is a very stupid example, but in some other fields, you may have, like for marketing texts, the customer wants to use this particular word, and in technical text, the customer wants a completely different term, or they use one term to differentiate from their competitors, so they want translators to use that particular term. That is very useful. Always when you see a highlighted word, always check the term base. Okay, it's very easy, as you see, it pops out and stands out very clearly. So in this case, let's use bicicleta, which is the general term. Bicicleta roja. Okay, we're gonna see some things later. If you go to red, the word is rojo, but bicicleta is female, so it has to be roja. Then we are probably going to have an issue with the QA. So there we go. We confirm this segment. And this other segment, I wanted to show you what's a fuzzy match. It's pretty much the same sentence. The only thing that's changing here is the color of the bicycle, which is not red but blue. And here you can see, well, it gives you an 81% match. So, it's a pretty good match. It has a penalty of 19%. And here it shows you what has changed so that you can actually change it quickly. And you see the red has been crossed because the red is not part of the segment, and blue, it's highlighted in green because that's the word that has changed. So it's easier because you get the full thing here, and you just have to translate that very word, which is a food. Great. That's it. With these segments, I wanted to give you a brief overview of terminology and different fuzzy rates and fuzzy matches. Okay. I hope this is clear for everyone. Please use terminology when there's terminology. One thing that's also important. It's how to add a term to the translation, to the term base. Feel free to add terms to the term base. However, terms have to be relevant. In this case, there are no relevant terms here, but I'm gonna add one, which, if I remember correctly, it was Alt-T, add term, yes, with Alt-T, but also you can use the panel here to add the term, and you highlight the term you want to add, you press Alt-T, and then you enter the term. You can say IF. You can say that it's a preferred term, case sensitive. Whatever you do in the term base, it's okay, because it would always be suggested. The status of everything you add would be suggested, so that we can double check with the customer if that's actually the term they want to have used. And in that case, the status would change from suggested into approved. But please feel free, when you are working on, you know, heavy technical texts or text with a particular lingo, please use it. It's very easy, and it really helps you and the translator that may come after you, the proofreader, and everyone. So if you look at this TB, it's grayed out because it's not yet approved. It's just a suggestion. So that's the basics, although that is the basic way of handling terminology. Let's move on and look at some tags here. I'm not going to translate this because it's very boring. So what I wanted you to know is that there are different ways of handling this translation. One would be, as I just made, instinctively, like copying the source into the target and then changing the speed. This works in languages that are quite similar because, I mean, affected has to be, the tags probably indicate either a change of color or a change in the font or something like that. So we have to place them as accurately as possible. So one way would be to do that, but then the word order has to be the same, which is a bit complicated. Another way of doing this is you can start translating GM, whatever, and then by pressing F8, you get the tags in order. Okay, you can of course cut and paste the tags into the text by, you know, coming here, cutting and pasting. Oh, okay, wait, sorry. Control C, Control V, you can cut and paste tags. But if you use F8, I think it's much easier. It would insert the tags in the same order as they appear. So we've inserted the first tag, then it will get this one, then we'll go to this one, then the closing tag for the number 2, opening tag for 3, closing tag for 3. Okay. Just so that you know, it's easy to insert tags just by pressing F8. Rojas. Let's move on. And okay, I was searching for a text with a lot of tags. Some of them, some of you may have come across this kind of segments in the past. This is a typical example of a PDF that has been converted into a Word file or a PowerPoint file or whatever file compatible with a CAD tool. If you ever see something like this, please contact your project manager, okay? Because I mean, if this is one segment, you can always translate and then insert all the tags in one go like this. It shouldn't be a big problem. But if you happen to see this in many segments, then probably we need to redo the source text before sending it over for translation. We normally check that when we send something for translation, the tagging works. But in some cases, now there are many pages, we just check a few, and then suddenly one paragraph it's horrible or something like that. If you ever happen to see something like this, please contact your project manager, because it's relatively easy to correct this in the source file, and it's much harder to translate this with that many tags. And sometimes we'll be able to do it, sometimes we won't. As I said, if it's only one segment, you can do something like this. If there are many segments like this, let us know, and we'll try our best to improve the output of the cut tool. Okay, and this is it. So I'm gonna cut and paste this and insert in the translation memory. And sorry, no, this is not yet to be inserted. One of the things I really want to make stress on, or I want you to pay a close attention to this, is when you see these things that are part. If you look at the preview, you see that this is one sentence. All these two segments here are one sentence. So please, if you ever happen to see something like this, please, there's a way of joining segments. It's very easy, and it helps a lot to keep a clean translation memory, and I'll explain you later why. In order to join a segment, you just have to click on the segment you want to be the first segment, and then Control J, and there you go. You see, it's joined the following segment. You can only join one segment to the following. You can join as many segments as you want. You can join 20 segments together, but you have to go one by one, and it's joining always the first with the second, the first with the second, the first with the second. It's always like that. If you ever join a segment, don't forget this tag, this J tag. This J tag is very important because it expresses where the line break is. So please keep it, place it wherever you want to place it, but place it, because otherwise there may be problems when exporting the files. Okay, so joining segments, it's very important. And this is another example of, I'm sure you've all been here, and I would like to know what is it that you do in this kind of circumstances. Here you see a very small table. It says item, red bicycles, blue bicycles, yellow bicycles, units 2020, and the pricing. Okay, great. So we go to red bicycles. Okay, bicicletas rojas, great. Blue bicycles would be, I can copy by double clicking here. I copy the match I'm getting, and then I can just change the word, bicicletas azules. And then, okay, yellow bicycles. If you see that this is yellow bicycles, you can divide the word into the translators that would translate amarillo here, or amarillas, and bicycles here, which makes no sense in Spanish, amarillas bicicletas. And there is another kind of translator that would do the opposite, would say, okay, this is yellow bicycles, but I know that when they export the file, I want it to look good, so I would write bicicletas here and amarillas here, so that when we clean up the file and we export it, everything works. Well, please, I'm begging you, don't do this. I know that you do it because you want to, you know what's going on, and you want to have a proper output file, and that's it. But this is causing so much trouble in the translation memories, because these are the kind of mistakes that you only spot when it's too late. And then suddenly you pre-translate a set of colors, and yellow becomes bicicletas like this, and it's there in the translation memory, it's there forever. Same things happens when you have A, B, C, D, E, and then A becomes whatever. Please, if you need to, if you see this is a problem, join the segment, and translate it accordingly. Bicicletas amarillas. That's good. This is perfect. By not joining the segment, you are creating a very, very big mistake in the translation memory, okay? So I confirm this. I'm tired for today, so I want to stop translating. In order to stop, I mean, Memsource is saving your job as you go. I believe it's every 30 seconds, your job gets saved. So that's good. In case, I know there's a power of electricity or something like that, you would lose a bit of your work, but you won't lose all of it. So by just closing the tab, the file has been saved. Now, if I refresh this page, I would see that I've already done 62% of the file of the job. And you also have the word count, the number of segments, and the confirmed segments. Okay. When you are translating, and this is something lots of translators have asked, you also have it here. If you look at in here, you have you've confirmed 12 segments out of 21, 75 words out of 120. And if you like to measure this in characters, 384 out of 619. Okay. I'm trying to speed up because I'm seeing that it's already a bit late. So you've done 62%. One of the things I was talking to you before is like how to open two files together. Why and when should you be opening two files together? When you are working with small files, I wouldn't think of it. Just in order to open both files or all the files or certain files, you select the files you want to open and then click on one of them. And you see that the name here has changed and it's joined. This is very good when you want elements to be propagated. Let's say that it's a long table of numbers in different files. When you translate one, it would propagate all throughout the text in all the files you've opened. I have to say also that propagation, it's the task that takes up the most resources. So it can also slow down a bit. So if you're working with very, very big files with many, many repetitions, propagation can be an issue. In these cases, in which the files are very, very big, I think it's much better and you'll gain more speed by opening one file, translating that file only, and then you can always select the other files and click on pre-translate. The pre-translate option would use whatever you have in your translation memory and would use it throughout the text. So it's the same as propagation, pretty much. So you can also pre-translate here, and you can even set the status to confirm segments. You can say like all the 101% matches, I want them, because you know it's a lot of numbers and you know that they are going to be okay. I want this 101, 100% TM matches to be confirmed already. So you don't have to go there and confirm them later. If you don't select this, they would still be 101% and 100%, but they won't be confirmed. You will have to confirm them manually afterwards. That's up to you, and it depends on the kind of text you want to, you are pre-translating. But I just wanted to point out that you can also do some pre-translations here, and so that you don't need to open all the files. Sorry, I now just want to finish off this this file quickly. I'm gonna just select all the segments and copy source, target, and confirm so that I finish this. And I've completed this document, but still I have to run a QA. Let's try to deliver the file. When you are about to deliver one file, this is easy. It's the same as accepting it. You just change the status and you can say completed by provider and save. And it gives me a warning. The file has not been delivered because there are unresolved QA warnings. So we need to run a QA check in the file, which is F9 or here, and there you go. Of course, there are going to be a lot of spelling mistakes because I've just cut and paste and everything. So one of the things I wanted to point out is like this terminology mistake. It says missing red because the term for red was rojo, and this is roja because bicycle is female. So that's a false positive. If you want to ignore, and you need to ignore all the errors before delivering, you just have to click here under this I for ignore. You click it and it's ignored. One thing, if you have a very long list of false positives, you can click hide ignored and start clicking. This is a good way of getting rid of when you know that they are false positive, okay? If you have a very, very long list of QA warnings, again, contact the team because we can set up what the QA looks at. So sometimes we've seen that, I don't know, the QA was incorrectly set up and we were having loads of mistakes that were completely irrelevant. Of course, there would always be irrelevant errors and warnings, but let's try to minimize them. So if you get a lot of errors of the same category, just let us know. We can change the QA settings in 1 minute, and then you can proceed with the QA as well. And that's pretty much it. Well, now if you would like to just deliver the file, just select the file, change status, completed by provider, and save. And I have still one unresolved code. This has happened, and I've seen this happening before, because when we ignore all the segments, all the errors, either we leave one unignored, or the system hasn't yet processed hasn't set up all the warnings as ignored. Okay, so if you wait a little bit, it should work. Anyway, if it doesn't work, you can again contact the project manager, and he would close the file for you if that's what you need. And with this, I think I'm pretty much done with what we were trying to. I forgot, we didn't mention filters, and this is very important. You have all your filters here. Filters are very important if you're working on, they are very useful for technical texts. You can always click the not confirmed ones when you are working with a big file. If now, as I've confirmed all the segments, we are not going to have any hit on the not confirmed. But one of the things I really like when I'm translating, first thing I would do is I would sort 101, 100%, and 99% not confirmed. And then you can work on all those that are very easy because they are in the translation memory and they have a very high match rate. You can confirm those. You can, most of the times, 101 and 100% are completely correct. The only ones that may have something to do with 99%, which is normally a change in the font, like it's underlined or it's italics or something like that. You can work on those segments fast, and then you can go to the fuzzy matches, again with the not confirmed option selected. What I'm trying to say is that you can use more than one filter at the same time, okay? So once you've done all these things, then you can start with the actual work. NT is non-translatables. Non-translatables are what the system considers to be things that shouldn't be translated. This works unevenly, I would say. Sometimes it works very good, sometimes it doesn't really work. But it's a good hint of what has and doesn't have to be translated. Basically, here you would have numbers, and codes, and also email addresses or things like that. You know, URLs from things from websites, addresses like postal addresses. So things that the system recognizes as something that shouldn't be translated because it's universal or something like that. Okay, and the empty, it's for all the segments that are coming from machine translation. In this case, there's no machine translation attached, so there's nothing here. Okay, another good way of starting for me, I'm basically a technical translator, so I've worked more on technical side. One of the things I like to do a lot is to sort segments by shortest first. Why? Because of this. You get all the numbers, all the symbols, all the hyphens and these kind of things that take a lot, break your rhythm when you are translating. You can take them away as at the very beginning. Normally you would get a lot of this euro sign all over the place. For financial translators, this can be quite helpful as well. And so this is one thing I normally do. And then most repetitions, like the segments that are going to be repeated more. Like here, of course, you have the 20, which is repeated 3 times. It's already a lot. But in some other kind of text, you'll have a lot of words, a lot of segments repeating once and over again. And that's it. You can, of course, play alphabetically. This is important when, let's say that you have a set of codes that start with Y. Then you can click here, source alphabetically, and then look for the letter you're looking for, and then take them all in one go, because all the codes start with Y, 1, and whatever. So this is a good way of starting to, you know, take out all the mechanical work before actually start thinking of on the translation, you know. This is what I do, but of course, all of us, we have different ways of approaching a translation. I just wanted to share this with you, and this is it. I'm gonna give you like a couple of minutes. If you have any question, please use the panel there, and I will try to answer all of them. I'll give you 2 minutes to place all the questions you may have. Okay, the first question has to do with file formats and languages supported by Memsource. I would say Memsource is supporting pretty much all the basic file formats, all the Microsoft Office, InDesign, PowerPoint, XML, HTML. I can send you all the information. You can, of course, find that information on Memsource website. And languages, most of them are supported as well. Like when I say most of them, I've never encountered a situation in which a language was not supported by Memsource. I have to say we haven't translated into Klingon, so maybe Klingon is not supported, but all the rest, as far as I know, are there. I mean, I'm from Spain, I'm from the Basque country. Basque is one of the languages there, so I'm trying to think of these small languages out there, and basically most of them. If you're interested in a particular language combination or in a particular file format, let me know, and I can do this research. I hope this answers your question. Okay, I'm having a question about how to copy formats like bold or fortunately on the files I've prepared for the webinar there, I forgot about this. I was not thinking of this, but I mean, if this, let's say that this word item would be in bold, when you start typing, it will be already in bold. Okay, the system recognizes the file format of the source, so you shouldn't worry about that. If there is a bold, let's say within the segment, like decrease, it's in bold, you can always, you see, come here. This is basic Word styling format. You click bold and off you go. It can be italics or underline or superscript or whatever. It depends on the source text. Some of the source text, depending on the program in which the source text was created, all this formatting comes in forms of tags. In some other softwares like Word files and all that, it comes, it's a visual thing. So you can always use bold, italics, underline, superscript, all these things here. For joining segments, yes, it's Control J. However, if you don't remember by heart, you can always come to these tools and let me look for it here. Join segments, Control J, split segment, which is the opposite, Control E. All the information is here. There's also a help tab here. I mean, what I want you to know is that these things can be done. Even if you don't know how to do things, but you know that, I heard that this could be done, just ask me. I mean, you all have my email address. If not, I would send it to you, to all of you. Any question you may have, however, it's a small question. I don't mind. I can answer straight away. So please do contact me if you have any question. There is one question I'm not quite understanding. How exactly is the task job allocation working from Yellow Hub in the transition phase? Okay. Well, I don't quite understand this question. If you could please elaborate a bit more, I would appreciate. If this is something that's more to do with a particular or a personal request, you can send me an email and we can discuss this. How do you add a paragraph break between segments? You cannot add a paragraph break between segments if there is not a paragraph break in the source text. So you cannot play between segments. So if there is a paragraph break, the system will recognize it and would place it. But if there's no paragraph break, then there's nothing you can do. Okay, yes, how to change default formatting, apostrophes and quotes and these particular signs for every language. This has been also, I know that there's been a problem with British English, American English, spelling, what's a mistake, what's not a mistake, whatever. We are working on it. Probably on Monday, we would change, I would change all the settings in the translation memories and in the language locales so that every language combination is adapted to a specific country, okay? Because the problem is that now we had English as default, for example, we didn't have British English or something like that as a default. Now we are gonna do this and therefore this would change. So if you can wait until Monday, I hope this would be sorted by Monday. Someone's trying Control J, doesn't work. It should work. Make sure that you are in the right segment and by, okay. while the filter is activated. You see, if you have a filter on, you cannot lock segments, and this is because if you look here, this is segment number 8, and the next segment is segment number 11. So you cannot join segment 8 with segment 11. So therefore, you cannot work on joining segments when there is a filter. In order to join a segment, you first have to remove the filter and then Control J and it works. Okay, how to use your own resources for your own translation memory or things like that. Unfortunately for you, I would say, and for us as well, because I know you have like very strong resources on your end. You cannot use your own resources for free. You can, if you subscribe to Memsource, then I believe there is a way of adding your own resources to the project. That would be like working as a translation agency yourselves. I believe that the license for Memsource, it's not very expensive, but this is a paid service, okay? I'm not a reseller of Memsource, so I won't do their job. So you can look on the internet and you'll see. I can ask if you want for specific questions, but only paid members of Memsource can add their own resources. Okay, is it possible to see the to download the file? You can see the completed file. Depending, you can always see the original file and the completed file. It depends on the settings of the project. Now, of course, if it's an InDesign file, for example, you need to have InDesign. This is, as you can see, it's here. I'll show you how. You just click on the file and you click download completed file. You can always download a bilingual file, which would get source and target if you want to do a quick QA. Let's do it. I didn't want an MXLIF, just a doc file, which is going to be easier to show. There you go. Here you have like the bilingual file for you to check if you want to check. Sorry, yeah, concordance. Yes, there is concordance. It's just as in SEL Trados. It's Control K. Control K, and there you go. Okay. You just search. Yeah. I'm gonna take something that's not part of Control K. It shows you where in the translation memory it's this word. So you have to select the word you're looking. It can be a word, it can be 2 words, it can be a full segment, and then press Control K, and there you go. You have all the information here. If you want to get back to the panel, you just click cut. Also, if you don't want to, the thing is that, you know, I tend to use a lot of shortcuts. You can always go search and then type whatever you want to search for in the translation memory. Okay. Unfortunately, you cannot connect a Trados translation memory in Memsource. That's one thing. You can always, if you go for the paid version of Memsource, you can always export your Trados translation memory and then import it in Memsource. That's possible, but again, you have to use the paid version of Memsource. There are some questions regarding multiple translators working on the same file. This is not, I know there are some companies that do this by default. This is not our goal. It may be the case that if we have like a very big project and we need to have like multiple translators working on it, then it would happen, but it's not something that we are expected to work on a regular basis with that. One of the things that we do expect at some point is to have, for example, in tasks in which there is a proofreader involved, then the proofreader can start working on proofreading a translation even before the translation has been finished. If that ever happens, we would of course tell the translator that, okay, someone is going to proofread your translation as you translate, so please be aware that you may find some changes in your translation. But yeah, that's it. Okay, I'm going through some of the last questions now. No, nobody really sees what you, I mean, the translator can, the project manager can see your work before you have it completed. That's, yeah, the project manager sees how far you are on your file, if you've completed like 25% or if you've completed 90% or whatever. It's only the project manager and you as a translator. No one else is actually able to see the work you're doing, unless, as I said, there is an information or there is a particular project in which it needs to have multiple people involved. Other than that, it's basically until you don't hit on completed, the next step of the work, it's not triggered, okay? Okay, I don't think I have any other question left. Okay, someone's asking if how is it, if it's possible to rearrange the different windows within the editing zone. To be honest, I don't know. I haven't checked. I don't think so. Being online, I don't think it gives you the possibility to be able to change the layout of the different windows there. I understand that some of you are used to working with the target, the source on top and the target below the source, some in two columns, but I don't think you can change that. The only thing I know you can change is the size of this, and that's pretty much it, as far as I know. Okay, so if there are no more questions, okay, there's one more. Yes, as I said, you can see the word in the preview, you can see the file in the preview, or you can download from here, you can download the files if that's a given possibility, if you want to see the source. The shortcuts to confirm segments are Control-Enter. Okay, some people are asking about shortcuts. All the shortcuts are in the Memsource website, but pretty much they work as the Eltrados. If I'm not wrong, it's Control-Enter, the basic ones. Control-Enter to confirm the segment. Control-Insert to copy source in target. Anyways, if you do it manually, when you place the mouse there, it would say, you know, conference segments, Control Enter, copy source start, Control Insert. So if you ever forget, you can always come back here and check what's the shortcut you were looking for. Okay. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I think we can wrap it up and call it a day. Please, if suddenly you're happily sleeping tonight and you happen to have a question that prevents you from sleeping ever again, let me know. Okay, send me an email and I would be happy to answer. Okay, thank you all for your time, and I hope we can see us again soon in the next webinar. It's probably going to be about XCRF or machine translation. Also, I want to invite you to, if you have some topics you would like to discuss or you would like to have a webinar on, please feel free to tell us. It's always nice to work on something that interests you, and that would be great. So thank you again for your attention, and I'll see you around, and please do send me any email if you have any question. Okay, goodbye.